you doing today? Can I get a yeehaw? Yeehaw! So I'm here today, and I've got with me Sean Gardner. You know him as Tomorrow Night, a blogger from the Huffington Post.
Thank you.
Sarah Austin, Pop 17. She was one of Vanity Fair's original, or America's Tweethearts. Also has over 20 million video downloads. Writer for Forbes. I can talk about you for 15 minutes.
I can talk about you, you social mediologist.
And then I've got Brian White from KOLD. We put this panel together. I'm from Tucson. Brian's from Tucson. And January 8th, obviously, when our congresswoman was shot, there was a lot of media frenzy that went on. And I watched things unfold, and it was disheartening that everything that was being, it was like to be right or to be first. And I thought about this, and I emailed Jeff, and I said, we need to do a panel about this. And so I found the TV station locally in Tucson that was one of the only ones that didn't report her to be deceased and had the most accurate information. And you know, you hate that you have to report on something like that, but it's their job. And so I'm going to let Brian talk about that and what happened that day in the studio, or in the newsroom.
Thanks, Jessica. As the kind of the social media guy / web guy / reporter for the CBS affiliate in Tucson, as you said, I have to say this was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to cover journalistically in my life and career as a journalist. Obviously, because it was just hit so close to home for us. So when I got the call that morning from our news director with the all hands on deck call, basically, I just had no idea what to expect. So having said that, getting into the newsroom, I immediately started creating stories, posting stories, and then of course tweeting them out, putting them on our Facebook, informing our viewers. It got to a point that Saturday, right before noon, where we were hearing conflicting reports from national outlets about her being dead. And it really spurred a kind of a lively debate, and it was really intense in the newsroom that day when we started getting things from NPR that she had been killed. From, I think Fox News was reporting that, and it was conflicting with our sources that said that she was basically in surgery at the University Medical Center. So we decided not to run with that, but it was a really intense moment, and we were the ones in our market in Tucson that did not say that she had died. And we kind of were going against the grain, so to speak, from what everything was saying. So obviously, in foresight, that was a fortunate move on our part because she had not died. But yeah, intense moment. So
with that said, I know, Sean, when we were in the green room, you were relating to your connection to Gabby.
Yeah, I sort of have like a more of this emotional connection to Representative Gifford. She was one of the few, at least in my mind, one of the few representatives, congressional representatives, even like celebrities, if you will, on Twitter, who actually, communicates with people and follows more than just 200 or 300 or 400. I've had positive interactions with her, policy interactions via DM. And I was doing some maintenance just on my account that Saturday. I saw her tweet go by, which was like the last thing that she had tweeted about Congress on the corner. And literally, maybe like 5 hours later, I saw that it said that breaking news. I saw in some channels also that she had been killed, if you will. But because I just did not want to kind of go with that and tweet that, most people were tweeting it, I decided to call the campaign. And I did get through after maybe like a third time. I think they put me on hold. But the individual that I talked with could not confirm, obviously they want to confirm what her condition was, but said that she was not killed.
That's what I wanted to do.
And I was writing a blog post on it. I wrote something maybe that next day, and so I wanted to be sure about the situation. So yeah, you have to really fact check and not just kind of go with that, because that urge to be the first, to be the source who did that is there.
Well, with that said, okay, so a lot of people, we're all journalists in some capacity, print, video, radio, you have your own channel, and transitioning into this, like how you vet, like citizen journalists. You're all citizen journalists if you're on Twitter and you're on a blog, you're doing your blog, your postings, but how do you decide to vet what you're going to post or tweet? And how do you do this, Sarah? Like what has been an important way you check facts or?
So on Twitter, I have lists for journalists that I'll follow, that I check in regularly. I use Twitter for news. I use search engines for news. I use mostly Google News to find my news stories, but you can use Yahoo. But there is one problem with that I want to point out, which is really critical to everybody out there in the audience today to think about and perhaps tweet about. This is from Eli Prager, who's the former head of MoveOn.org and the author of The Filter Bubble. And he points out that it's critical that developers also take note because they are changing democracy. Because of the way when you're searching for your news, the results that show up are based on your preferences. So it's reinforcing your already established point of view. So for somebody like, let's say we're both searching the same thing, Jessica, so let's say you search global warming on your computer, and I search global warming on my computer. We might have similar views, but let's say we don't. We're going to have viewpoints and news stories that come up that are already aligning with our established point of view. So it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Because how do we have democracy when there's certain news stories that we need to see both sides of? So even on Twitter, I'm going to follow the people that align with my viewpoints, that I find trusted sources that I believe in and that I agree with. But it's critical that I see opposing views in a lot of different issues.
Well, that's a really good point, because I mean, if you're talking about where you feel like how you deliver the news, so if I'm, what's that, a movie with Mel Gibson where he thinks everything's a conspiracy and I'm getting this information and I'm sending it out. But I mean, that's again with my followers, are they trusting what I'm saying, if it's right or what we're doing? And I want to transition. We're going to talk about Wienergate a little bit. And you knew we were real-time news. What happened with Representative Wiener and I said Wiener on stage. Wiener, and then and then we also were talking about the Tupac. So I would like to start and go back through the panel about when you saw the story about. Let's go Tupac, then we'll talk Wiener. I'm saving Wiener for later.
Right. So both of those stories have to do with hackers, right?
Right.
So with Rep. Wiener, he claimed that on his Twitter account it was hacked and there was a crotch shot posted. But 1 week later, the news story changed, and it turns out that he actually posted the tweet, whether he was trying to send it to the young woman in Seattle as a DM and it went public, or he did it publicly, doesn't matter. Now he's seeking professional help. And with the PBS story, similarly, actually PBS was indeed hacked, and a news story was posted that Tupac Shakur is still living in New Zealand, and then that story was picked up by NPR. Right. So not only do you have to check your sources, but you have to check the trusted sources. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Brian, to you, with being a news person, when these type of stories are coming across, when you decide to repost, retweet, report.
I mean, definitely. I mean, I'm human just like anybody else, of course, and I've made my mistakes, and I think it's important to, when you realize you make that mistake, to retract, correct, and be really open and very transparent. And on things like Twitter, certain things can gain traction, and if the story's wrong, like you said, it just explodes, and it's really hard to take it back. So I think it's really important to, just be really clear that you made the mistake, be super transparent about it. And there is a debate about whether or not to delete the tweet that is inaccurate. I think, obviously, that's a judgment call, but...
right here was that one comes from.
Right, so, I mean, mistakes happen, but
right.
Making sure that your information is as accurate as possible is obviously crucial, and vetting it with different sources, I think, is a sound practice.
Well, and Sean, you had a specific thing about...
over the weekend, a friend actually DM'd me something regarding, it was this hoax regarding McDonald's. And apparently this was being, I think, tweeted and retweeted on Saturday. Well, there was a picture. Obviously someone doctored this picture, and it said, due to high crime, African Americans will be given a $1.50 surcharge. And I know that Yahoo News picked it up on Sunday, and others actually wrote about it. But she sent it to me on Saturday. This is someone I trust. I like her a great deal. But what she did is she sent me the picture, and in the picture there was a toll-free number. When I call the toll-free number, because again, I like to see about these things because this is pretty highly charged, it was a KFC toll-free number. And it was very clearly there. So rather than going with them, I mean, people just kind of went with what the headline was and maybe the emotionalism of it. And that's easy to do because we all are, human, and we kind of maybe draw some connection to whatever it is. But I just wanted to be sure. I know certainly that, not to defend McDonald's or any corporation, but I know what their track record is on diversity, and certainly everybody can be better. However, I just said, let me just call this number. I called it, and it said KFC. Oh, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Sorry.
There you go.
Yep.
So, I mean, we're all human. We all make mistakes. We do stuff. I think another thing we were talking about was Charlie Sheen and this winning. And when you're talking about real-time news, changing times, when we're reporting, retweeting, reposting, just talking, like, what's your feelings of, like, your litmus test for what you'll tweet about or not tweet about or talk about? Like the Charlie Sheen we were talking, you said, I never did anything, and I copped to using winning and losing, and
well, everyone used the winning hashtag, didn't they? I mean,
yeah.
at some point.
To a degree.
But, like, I mean, this guy's a sick guy. He's an alcoholic addict, and we're out there, we're making fun of him. I mean, what's, like, drawing the line? And I mean, as far as news versus entertainment versus real-time reporting, real-time, congestion, or what am I saying, congestion? I meant consumption of news. So what are some things I want you guys to tell everybody how you're going through this in your own mind, and for your news station or for your publication, how you vet it so that what you're looking at, I know it's a personal decision, but tell me about this.
I mean, I think it depends on the newsroom, but for our newsroom particularly, I mean, we cover obviously more local issues because in the market that we represent, but I mean, we try to see if there's any impact for audience. Is this something that they care about, the who, what, so who cares kind of deal? And we just temper it. I mean, try not to be gratuitous. I don't think we really ran with the Charlie Sheen stuff much. To be specific, but yeah, I mean, we try to just have a viewer benefit there. We try to have something that is going to be something that our viewers can take away, that's utility, that helps them in some manner, hopefully. I think that's our goal, so.
Sarah?
Well, back to the point that you had made earlier when we were talking over email with Sarah Palin being associated with the gunman and the crosshairs. That's just another example of not having a firm news story, but then next thing you know, it's spreading like wildfire on Twitter, and it just turns into gossip, and all of a sudden people are making associations in the news and reporting on topics that just came from gossip.
Right. Sean?
Yeah, I just think that my feed is not, I think anybody who's looking at my feed would not associate it with rumor and gossip. I know that there are feeds out there for that, but I would much rather maintain a feed that's informational and sort of, inspirational, and maybe even aspirational, I can say that.
So you'd rather be somebody who can post accurately than be the first person to report
Absolutely.
on something that's going to get retweeted a lot. It's better to actually have accurate information.
It is.
Thank you very much for having us here today. I'm hearing our Oscar acceptance speech wrap it up. Here comes Jib over.
And big thanks to you, Jessica.
Yeah,
Thank you, Brad. We're going to keep this conversation going, and Sarah's actually doing some stuff for Pop 17. So if you guys have questions specifically for this panel, Brian, KOLD, Sarah Austin with an A and an H, and tomorrow night with the number 2, tomorrow night. If you guys, our Twitter handle should be on stuff you have, but we're going to keep this conversation going, and we've got some stuff so you can look for it at pop17.com.
Thank you.
You're welcome.